All right, what's going on, folks? I'm here with Daniel, and we just got dinner, got a drink, and we are here to just kind of reflect and just kind of tell the story of our recent hunting trip out west, all over Texas.
All over the place. We drove a bunch, had a bunch of good stories on the road, talked about someone named the Chicken Man.
Yep.
And shot some pigs.
Yeah, definitely. So this was an interesting trip because we had a few specific goals and then just enough time that we're like, let's bring some other stuff just to do whatever that fills in the gaps. We've got some handguns, some rifles, some targets, just lots of stuff to kind of fill in the edges. I think we probably got about half of that done.
Well, and I think to back up, so what was it, 2 months ago we went down to your place?
Yeah.
So 2 months ago we went down, and so I ran out of sausage, and I needed to shoot some pigs. And we went down, and I think we didn't do a podcast on this because I was too upset.
Yeah, you were pretty bummed out.
So we went down to Pliny's place. I brought a 6.5 Grendel, which this caliber is just really whooping my tail. I cannot figure it out. Can't get it to be super accurate. Brought it down. Never really sighted it in. We went to a place and I kind of sighted it in on a 100-yard plate.
You're just like, I hit the plate.
I hit the plate. I'm good.
Yeah.
Went down. I didn't draw my bow back on a pig, which I still debate that. I think I could have probably drawn. I don't know that I would have had a good shot, but that one doesn't bother me. I then went and shot at and missed 2 pigs and came away with a 0. I think that was the first time that you've been to Coleman and someone else has been there and no animals were killed.
Yeah.
So I was pretty fired up, and I was like, hey, Pliny, when are we going to go down again?
Yeah.
Let's figure out a time to go shoot some pigs.
Yep. So it was scheduling and travel and work, and you got a new job, and then just lots of scheduling stuff. It's been difficult to make it work, but then we finally did. And so one of our goals was, to go down there. We did a whole podcast about Daniel's new rifle, that Christensen. And so you were obviously itching to really put that thing to the test.
And we came up with that idea leaving that trip where I missed the pigs.
Yeah.
Because I said, I want a long-range rifle that I can trust that's accurate short range as well.
Yep. So we were trying to just think through what's the best combination of long-range precision rifle that doubles as a hunting rifle. So if you want to learn more about that or just listen to that thoughts, I think the podcast was called One Rifle to Rule 'Em All, where we just kind of got into every little consideration and detail of all the features on that thing.
And sneak peek, it really does rule 'em all.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It's a sweet rig. So one of the big goals was go down there, kill some pigs. But then you also got permission on another place where the landowner had recently bought out one of his neighbors and extended his property and very graciously said, hey, you guys can check it out, see if you can hunt there. So one of our goals was to go out there, scout it out a little bit, put some feeders on the place, just kind of see what it looked like and get a feel for it.
Yeah, so the place we went out in West Texas, out past San Angelo, at the beginning of 2021, and I shot those 2 deer.
Yep.
At that time, it was a 100-acre plot, and my buddy has an oil and gas business and just has water wells on the property. So the neighbor next to him, it's in this area called Deer Camp, and it's all these little ranchettes, like 100 to 300-acre ranches, and there's deer all over the place. It's meant for hunting. But there's a lot of oil and gas and fracking and all that kind of stuff down there as well.
And this is like, I would say that's technically it's Trans-Pecos is what Texas calls it, but almost high desert, very rocky, but still brush country.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the cool thing about it, I think we talked about this last time, is they have low areas and then they have these bluffs that are probably 100 to 150 feet in elevation.
Yeah.
And the last time we were out there, Pliny and I found this little rock cliff. We set up with our long-range precision rifles and took some shots at 400 and then 600 yards, which was kind of fun. My buddy told me, hey, I bought the 300 acres adjacent to me. So now his 100-acre prime spot in deer country turned into 400 acres. And the most beautiful thing about all this, Pliny and I talk about this a lot when we're driving. Would you rather have cows on your property and be able to still eat beef, or get rid of all cows on the planet and no longer have the ability to eat beef? The reality here is there's no cows and I still get to eat beef.
This is probably the first place I've ever hunted in Texas and set up feeders and done all this that doesn't have cows.
And that's important because if you're in Texas, especially down in that area, it's really rocky.
Yeah.
So to pound T-posts into the ground, as Pliny's done down at Rock Springs, it's no simple task. And then the cows, you get a big bull that comes down and he's just like, yeah, I'm going to knock into that and get to the corn.
Yeah.
So no cows, which is great. So we went and checked it out. And, it was, the thing I liked about this property is there was a lot more elevation on it.
Yeah.
So just from like a cool scenery perspective, it was real pretty.
I mean, just going out there, it feels you're definitely not on a farm. I feel like so many people's context of deer hunting is you're either in a river bottom or on like cropland. And this is neither of one of those. It feels like a true Western adventure. Yeah.
And it's got good elevation. It's got good scenery. It's got a bunch of cedars and mesquites. And so it's, kind of low brushy trees, but there's some decent sized ones there. And it's just really cool. The last time we were down there, I think it got down to a low of 16 degrees and there was...
Yeah, it was cold, man.
3 to 6 inches of snow everywhere we were.
Yep.
And then this time we went down there, it was about 90. So it was different, but it was cool.
Quite a swing.
Yeah. So we went down and with the goal of setting up 2 feeders.
Yeah.
So we had 2 cameras we left down there, saw some game on them. We were going to set them up.
Well, so let's back up a little bit. So this whole thing started, so it was we're talking about 4th of July weekend. So that's kind of what spurred this whole thing is we're like, hey, we've got a long weekend. 4th of July is Sunday, but the 5th is actually a holiday. So we've got a little bit of extra time so we can make this work. And then I happened to have jury duty on Friday right before. So I was like, either I'm going to get on jury duty surrounding a holiday weekend and I'm going to be pulled on a jury and this is going to be awful. Or I'm going to basically go down there and it's going to be nothing. And then we're going to get out there early. I think what happened was actually somewhere in between. Still wasn't bad. I basically went down there. There was one case they picked a jury for, and then another one that they're just like, okay, just hang around and wait. And then it ended up settling. And so probably by 11 or 12, some midday, they're like, okay, you can go home. So, I mean... Sure beats working.
I get a text. I'm like, sweet, we're about to leave.
Yeah. And then I realized I had built these 2 feeders, which one of them I had literally bought a barrel from a dude on Craigslist the night before and bolted stuff up. And then I'm like, oh, I should put solar on these. And then I was missing some screws. And then just one thing turned into another. And I got that going. Then I had to pack everything up. And I went to get my oil change. Normally I do it myself. But I'm like, I'm going to go get my oil change at this place. And they took forever. I should have just done it myself.
Yeah.
But all that to say, I think we probably got out of here by 4.
Well, then you got a call from work.
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
that's what really delayed.
There was a disaster that needed to be solved.
Yeah,
that was not fun. So I had a bad attitude.
Yeah.
But then by the time we got going, then of course we hit traffic in Fort Worth, which people in Fort Worth are always, I don't know, they act like they're so much better than Dallas. Like Dallas is the traffic, like crowded part of Texas, and Fort Worth's like cool and chill. And I've had so many traffic problems out of Fort Worth, but anyway.
We're just trying to get out of the city.
Yeah. So that was frustrating. But then once we finally got out west, I think I was in a good state of mind.
It's amazing how when you live in the city and you go hunt in the country, how as soon as you leave that city limit where, there's all kinds of congestion, you just kind of go, man, this is so great.
You're just like mentally free again.
Yeah, absolutely. Your cell phone stops working, your internet goes away, and it's great. It's a wonderful thing.
And then, so of course, on the way out there, we were pretty sparse on meals. So we're like, we're going to be driving a lot because we're basically going all over Texas. So we're going to eat a lot on the road. We went to a Raising Cane's, which is always good, but I don't think they could have screwed up our order worse. I mean, they have like 2 things on the menu, chicken strips and sandwiches that are made of chicken strips. And somehow they screwed it all up.
They couldn't get it right.
But that's where we were joking about there's a KFC, or not a KFC, a Chick-fil-A.
I can't believe you just said KFC.
Yeah.
It's the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
The greatest chicken place in the world.
I don't know. Forgive that mistake. But we had, on the last time we came back from Iran, that's kind of the joke in the story about the chicken man. They've got two lanes. And so they've got they've got like a cashier station, I guess, in the outside lane, but then they just hand your food out of that window, and we were just sitting there like, well, how do you get the food to that little thing? And we look up, and there's like a corridor or something over the top, and we're like, is that a little chute where people
chicken just comes
like
out
a
of it?
chicken conveyor belt. We're like, sorry, but we gotta ask. We just have to know.
So for any of you that have never been to a Chick-fil-A, first of all, go.
Oh,
Secondly,
I forget those people exist.
yeah, I know. Secondly, there's a lot of times where you go to a Chick-fil-A and it's so crowded that they form like kind of a weird second line with traffic cones. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a dedicated second drive-through window attached to the building.
It's like a toll booth.
It's like a toll booth. That's exactly right. And there's this big, thick overpass.
And we're like, we got to know, is there some sort of chicken conveyor belt in there?
So we ask her, we drive up, and we're like, hey, how do y'all get your chicken over here? We want to know where the chicken comes from. And they said, well, up there, they actually send the orders over this little conveyor belt or whatever it is, comes down to us, and then we hand it to you.
And so, of course, we're driving through West Texas, staring at sand and mesquite with nothing to look at. So we're just talking about this, like trying to figure out the mechanics of this whole operation. So we conclude that there must be this little chicken man who runs across delivering orders. And that's how they do it.
So then that leads to songs about the chicken man.
Yeah.
Because clearly there's a little Oompa Loompa of some sort that's running through the skies.
Running through the skies, bringing chicken and fries.
He's the chicken man.
So, yep, that's what we do when we're traveling across West Texas.
Wouldn't order that at a Bennigan's.
And that's another. We got so many just stupid little inside jokes, but
when you drive, 6.5 hours one way, you start coming up with stuff that's funny when it's probably not really.
Yeah, there's so much there. But man, we probably got in at what, 11:30?
Probably 11:30 into Iran. So down in Iran, my buddy's got a little camper down there, and it's actually pretty nice. And so we got to the camper. AC was working, which is great. Got it all set up, and we're like, all right, well, we weren't hunting the next morning because it's not. There's no active season right now. We were going down to Rock Springs to hunt pigs, but there's no real feral hogs out in Iran. There's javelinas, and we didn't see any of those. But we went down. We're like, all right, so we're not hunting in the morning. We just need to wake up somewhat early so we can get these feeders set up, go into town.
So we did what any respectable Texan would do at that point.
We broke out a bunch of beer and started drinking it.
Yeah. And I think we got to that point where we're like, oh man, I think we're each at like 6.
Yeah.
We should probably go to bed.
And that was like real quick.
Yeah.
Like I think it was like 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
After a 6-hour drive, we're like, yeah, let's just drink beer.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to bed, wake up the next morning pretty early.
Yep.
And then we went out, and so we had 2 cameras set up. And keep in mind, they were both on that first 100-acre plot. So we wanted to take one of them off, go look at the 300 acres and find a good spot for it. So we did that, set up one of the feeders, and then just kind of drove around the new 300 acres and kind of hiked a little bit, which was real cool. So there's a road that goes down, and you can kind of follow the new 300 acres on the base level, and then there's another road that goes up on the bluffs, and you can drive the entire length of the 300 acres. It's kind of like almost a rectangle type shape, if I can describe it best. You can drive all the way on the top, so you can look at it from the top or bottom, which we did, and then we hiked around on the top a little bit, and we're looking for where there's good wind patterns, good elevation, where if we don't really want to sit in a blind, we can just go, sit in some brush somewhere and take a shot.
And the game was very much either find a spot on the top of the hill where you can see a lot and shoot down, or find a spot down in the bottomland area, I guess, where you can get in and actually see something, because it gets pretty thick down there. And I remember at one point when we were on the top, it was one of the very few clearings up there. We got all excited because we're like, oh, there's a water hole up here. It looks great. And then I remember you're like, look at this. Yeah. And you like held up a deer leg that you found on the ground.
I found a deer leg.
There's got to be deer here. And then we looked around and we're like, yeah, there's like 6 more. This is somebody's dump
spot. Oh, look, a skeleton. Oh, look, another skeleton.
Yeah, this is the dump.
Yeah. So we decided that's probably not the greatest spot to set up a feeder.
Yep.
So we ended up finding another. Pliny had a great spot. We're driving down the ridge, and there's this little black plastic feeder, probably one of those cheap Academy, like $89 ones, right?
Yeah.
But Pliny's like, I see a feeder. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no feeder over here.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's a little feeder in this clearing, and it'll make a great bow spot, I think.
And the reason we say it'll make a great bow spot is just because it's really high up and it's on a cliff edge, so we think it's not a spot where you can responsibly shoot a rifle and know where your bullet's actually going. So even though you're out in big open country, I think it needs to be a short range weapon up there on the top of the hill.
Yeah, you don't want to take an errant shot and have it go a mile and hit something it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah. So that was kind of a bonus feeder.
Yep.
And then we're like, okay, let's remember that. We had to go into town, get some stuff.
The guy at the corn place.
Yeah.
So it's Saturday before the 4th of July, which was on a Sunday. And everything in Iran, nothing's open on Sunday. And everything closes apparently at noon on Saturday.
Yep.
So we were thinking about, getting some corn on the way down to Iran from Dallas, but we had the 2 feeders that Pliny brought, and then I had a protein feeder. So the back of the truck was pretty full.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, let's just get to Iran. Surely something will be open Saturday.
Unload, get corn in the morning. Yep.
So I called 2 or 3 times and no one picked up. I'm like, oh, great. So the closest place besides Iran is like an hour and a half, and it's a Tractor Supply, of course. Because, by the way, this is an unsolicited plug for Tractor Supply. They literally have anything that you need for an apocalypse. Like, they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're you go in there, you're like, I need a feeder, I need some clothes, and I also need something to fix my 4x4.
Yep.
And I'm good.
Yep. That's where I'd go.
Yeah. So we end up going to Iran, kind of just crossing our fingers, and we get to this place, and it's an automotive shop that also has a feed store.
Yeah.
And we walk in, and keep in mind, Iran's, I don't know, a town of 1,000 people. Like, it's a real small town. We walk in.
Yeah, not 1,000 people.
Yeah.
It's got to be less than that.
Yeah. So we walk into this place, and we're like, please be open, please be open. We turn the door, and sure enough, it's open. We're like, all right, sweet. Mission 1 accomplished. And there's all kinds of, it's like a little hardware store / feed store. Had everything we needed. So we're like, hey, we need a bunch of corn. So we buy a bunch of corn, and I'm paying because we bought some other stuff. And Pliny goes out to the truck, and this guy, I'll let you tell the story because you were out there.
Yeah, well, I make the first mistake because I start backing up my truck into they've got almost like a pole barn on the back. So I'm like, surely the corn's back there. There was another pallet that they had pulled kind of on the side of the building that I didn't see. And he looked at me like, no, I'll bring it to you. Just go back where you were.
And if you can see Pliny's face right now, he's making the impression of someone that's super stoned.
Yeah. And I think, yeah. And so we're like, oh, okay. I didn't realize it was that. He's like, just don't worry about it, man. And so I just drove back up. And then this dude who was celebrating early was driving the forklift, loaded it up, lifted it up. And I'm like, thanks for bringing it out here, lifting up the forklift. You're the man. He's like, yeah. And so then that was our joke. We're like, you're the man. Yeah, I'm the corn man.
I'm the corn man.
I'm the man.
My buddy's the chicken man.
So we got that all loaded up. And then as we were hauling out of town, we were kind of adding it up. We're like, wait, those are 50-pound bags, not 40-pound bags. And we're going up this tiny little hill, and we're like, well, shoot. We didn't realize we had like 1,000 pounds of junk in the back of the truck.
18 bags of corn.
Yeah.
Because he spilled one and gave us a free one. So it was 900 pounds
plus
of corn.
T-posts, a pounder, a cooler, just all that. There was easily 1,000 pounds of stuff in the back of my truck. So like,
it was a little heavy.
We'll be good.
Yeah, we'll be all right. So we get back, we fill up the feeders. And I don't think there was anything else eventful out in Iran.
We met the guy out there who's super nice. He's super excited about the property, and he just kind of works the oil wells out there. Talked to him for a little bit, got the feeder set up. It was definitely a chore because you can't drive up to the feeders out there.
Yeah, they're the 2 of them that we set up were probably 200 or so yards from the truck to the feeder.
Yeah.
And we're carrying 50-pound bags of corn.
And I remember the first load, I brought 2 bags with me. And so carrying 100 pounds of corn gets pretty heavy. And then you did the same. And then I'm just like, okay, I'm going to cut brush or whatever. And you kept going. So I was impressed, man. You got it done.
I hadn't worked out in a while. So I'm like, well, I can carry 100 pounds of corn on my back, kind of as it's slipping, and I'm just trying to hang on to it for dear life.
You're like, I'm the corn
life.
I'm the corn man.
I'm the corn man now.
Corning in the morning.
I have taken that title. So we ended up hauling all the corn in, got all the feeders set up. We went and looked at that little black feeder that Pliny had spotted. I think it's in a great spot, but the motor wasn't working right. We couldn't figure it out. And it was middle of the day.
We spent way too long just staring at that. And so
hitting buttons.
I got the 2 settings program, but then I couldn't figure out how to change the time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, Daniel, I gotta be just a moron. Can you look at this? And then you're like, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep holding this button down for like 20 seconds. And then finally it worked.
But I think that the motor was broken because the test wasn't working. And we set a time and set the feeder for 2 minutes later and it didn't work. So we ended up saying, all right, we're not going to mess with this for the next 2 hours because we're trying to get back down to Rock Springs, which is about 3 hours away.
Yep.
By like 4 o'clock, so we can still go do an evening sit out there.
So we ended up just jacking the motor off that thing, and it's in my truck right now. That's a future project for me just to figure out what's going on with that.
So we could potentially have 3 spots out there, which is awesome because 2 of them are down on the lower part, and there's plenty of room, and we set them up where you're not shooting into each other. And then the third one can be up on the hill for a bow spot, which I'm super excited about.
Oh, and one of my highlights, like we were driving back and we saw a bunch of doves out there. We saw a bunch of jackrabbits. And then across the road, I saw just some little critter run across the road. And I just like slammed on the brakes and ran out of the truck with my camera. I'm like, dude, that's a horned frog. And you're like, okay, whatever. And then I crawled into this little bush and got a picture of it. And it was super cool.
It was actually really cool.
I had never seen, that's one of those things in Texas. Like you always hear about them. I probably knew what a horned frog was when I was 6 years old. But I had never seen one. And so just see one like walk across in front of me and then just hide in a little bush and let me take his picture.
It was pretty cool.
I'll post that picture on Insta just because it came out really well. But it was cool to actually see one.
You can actually see his little horns on the top of his head, which is real cool. Yeah.
That was a highlight of mine.
Yeah. So we ended up packing up. I think we left there by probably 12:30.
Something like that.
Somewhere around there. Which, I think for, it was kind of cool in the morning. Got a little hot. I think we were very efficient in Iran.
Yeah.
Like we were there for, a total of less than 12 hours.
And we still got really sunburned.
We got really sunburned. So we ended up packing up and we head down to Rock Springs. And I think we had everything we needed, right?
I think so.
So we went right to the property and the goal. So you had been seeing some pigs on your camera.
Yeah.
At your feeder.
Yep.
So we're like, all right, let's go sit in the blind. And let's both bring our Creedmoors. Because, again, so the new rifle I got, 6.5 Creedmoor, it's a Christensen MPR. Highly recommend it. Unbelievable rifle. And I've got a Night Force NX8 on top of it, which is a 4x32, which it just sounds ridiculous to say that. Like 4x32.
Well, and again, most people, when they say 4x32, they mean 4X mag, 32 millimeter objective.
And I mean
4 to 32
by 50.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's an awesome scope. And Pliny had his 270, but it wasn't sighted in yet because you got...
I just threw... Daniel got the Night Force and then I got Jelly. And so I put the SHV. So I had an order with Optics Planet for a Miopta that I was super interested in trying. I'm still really curious about Miopta. There's a lot of interesting things about that brand that I want to try. But they canceled my order and delayed it all these times. And I'm like, okay, forget that. I'm just going to call Euro Optic, get the SHV. And I'm glad I did because it's a great scope, but it wasn't sighted in yet. So I'm like, well, okay. The only rifle that I know is dead on is my target rifle. So I'm going to haul out this huge 14-pound 6.5 Creedmoor out there. I'm like, I know I can hit with it. So that's what we did. And what's funny is that feeder, I had goofed up. And you know what? I still didn't even fix this. I had set this not taking into account daylight savings time. So I think my feeder goes off at 4 p.m.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, so it still does.
Yeah.
Because I never fixed it. But we're like, shoot, that means like the animals probably have already come and gone. So,
I think we got there at about 4:30 too.
Yeah. But I think a lot of times the deer will hit it right when it goes off, but the pigs are super skittish, so they won't come in until right before dark. So like, well, we've got nothing better to do, so let's just go sit in the blind and just see what happens.
So we sit there with two rifles that can shoot out to 1,000 yards, and we're looking at a feeder 100 yards away.
Yeah, we're like, this isn't really fair or sporting, but we're here like to put out a hit on some pigs.
Yeah, we're literally here to just murder pigs. That's the whole reason. So we're sitting there, and again, we're goofing off, kind of just talking in low voices, and it starts raining. And Pliny goes, "Oh, this will probably last about a minute or two. This is Rock Springs." I'm like, "Okay, good," because I got my duffel bag full of clothes in the back of your truck. And then like this hard rain comes down.
Yeah,
and we're like, "Well, this is interesting." And so we're joking around, and we're playing this is like what you do when you've been in the car together for this long. You start playing stupid games and you're sitting in a blind doing the same thing.
Yep.
What's something that starts with the letter P?
Well, I started with A, and it was an aardvark. Of course.
Why wouldn't it be?
And then Daniel was like, well, I'm thinking of something that starts with the letter P. And I'm like, is it a human body part?
So he's like, is it here right now? And I said, well, not yet. And he still didn't get it. And literally as we're like, this is probably 20 minutes after it rained.
Yeah.
We're talking about this being stupid. I'm like, well, it's not here right now. And he's like, I don't know, pine tree. And sure enough, about five.
I guessed it first. I did guess it first.
Yeah. You did.
I was like, oh, it's a pig.
Yeah. And so like,
oh, and by the way,
yeah. Hey, I see a pig. I'm like, dude, stop. Just stop. Like, it was funny at first. He's like, no, seriously, I see a pig.
No, there's a piglet behind the trees at 200 yards. Yeah. I promise.
And I'm looking, I'm like, there's no pig. Right. You're joking. And sure enough, I'm looking over that way. He's like, it's 11 o'clock. I'm like, dude, I don't see anything. And then I see this little white and black pig, like this little piglet that looked just
like
half retarded, like kind of flipping around. He's like running, darting. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a pig over there.
You're not kidding.
You're not kidding. So we end up getting our rifles together. We had talked about this on the drive down, which is kind of cool. We're like, all right, if we see multiple pigs coming into the feeder, let's try to do a 1, 2, 3 pop.
Yep.
And we've tried it with ducks. Pliny shot his, I missed mine, and then Pliny missed it as well, which that duck just did not want to die.
Well, and previously, so I posted a video about it. Kyle and I had tried a 1, 2, 3 on a pig, and he smoked his, and I screwed it up big time.
It's really hard.
Well, he counted to 2, not 3, so I still can blame him for that. But then I whiffed still.
It's hard because if you don't shoot at the exact same time, you're gonna flinch.
Yeah,
like you're hearing a gunshot, you're gonna flinch.
Yeah.
So we ended up saying, all right. We clarified this on the drive down in between the chicken man conversation. It's going to be 1, 2, and on 3 you shoot. Not 1, 2, 3, and then wait. It's 1, 2, 3, bam.
Yep.
So as it's on 3, you're shooting. So three big pigs come in. Well, relative.
Yeah.
Compared to the piglets.
Compared to the 10-pounders.
They're 60 to 90 pounds. And there's all these little piglets that are coming in. And so we're like, all right, I'm on the right. Pliny's on the left. I got the right pig. You got the left pig. And we're watching them come in. I'm like, hey, Pliny, your pig's taking a dump.
I'm like, let her finish.
Let her finish. So they end up walking in, and they're right outside.
I mean, it's just the polite thing to do, right?
It is the polite thing to do. Although it wasn't polite what she did after that, but we'll get to that in a second. So we're watching them come in. The piglets go in the feeder, and there's 3 sows sitting outside the feeder. There's one that's decent size. There's a little brown one that's probably a little smaller than the big one, and then there's the one that's the smallest, which is like 60 pounds. But again, they're 60 to 90 pounds, so they're all pretty small pigs. On the whole.
And at this point, all the little piglets were running around in the feeder pen.
Yeah.
But we had realized there's kind of no corn in there because the deer had already wiped it out. So we're like, oh, it's only a matter of time till they bail on this.
Yeah. So there's the piglets that are sitting in the pen, and the sows are kind of sitting outside. And like Pliny was saying, we're like, well, they're probably not going to come in, so we should probably get on them right now and take a shot. And they're probably, I don't know, 5-10 yards past the pen.
Yeah.
So we end up lining up, and I'm taking the middle pig. Pliny's taking the one on the left. And he's like, all right, you ready? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm going to count. I'm like, cool. And we had talked a ton about this. Like, this one's mine. That one's yours. This one's mine. That one's yours.
So we're like, 1, 2.
It was so awesome. It was so awesome. Now, what's funny about that is I'm watching on my scope at like 16x, right? Because why not? I've got a 32x scope.
That's only like halfway.
Yeah. And I'm watching my pig, and my pig is walking right in front of a T-post. And I'm like, all right. So I had made the decision, because I missed the pigs before the last trip we were down there. I'm just going to take a vital shot. I'm not going for a headshot on my first shot. I'm just going to put a pig down. And so I'm on the vitals, and then the pig starts walking in front of this pole. I'm like, crap, I got to move. I got to take a headshot or a neck shot. So I move it over, put it on her neck, and as Pliny says 3, her neck just passes the T-post. Pull the trigger, and in my scope, I see the thing just hit the ground, which is, as a hunter, especially with pigs, especially with a neck shot. Like it's the thing you want to see.
Yep.
So then I hear Pliny take a shot, and then I hear Pliny go bang, bang.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, there's more pigs. So I start trying to look around. I'm like, oh crap, I'm on 16X. I can't see anything right now.
Yeah. Well, and at that point, my other shots were kind of reckless. So it was not reckless, but not productive. It was my first shot. I could have sworn I saw impact, that I hit what I was aiming at, and I thought I saw a pig go down. I wasn't really thinking about it too much, but at that point, I just saw other moving targets, and so started shooting at those. And those little bitty piglets, not knowing the lead to put on them, I think I shot 2 more times, and one I just barely missed, and the other I have no idea where I hit. Like one I saw dirt kick up right behind it, and so I just needed a tad more lead, and the other I have no idea. And then what was funny is we were sitting there, and Tina was like, I for sure got mine. I saw it. Like, I know I got mine. Just in case you're wondering, I definitely got mine. And I'm like, cool. Yeah,
I watched it go down to my scope.
I think we both got one. And Daniel was like, yeah, see that one out there? That one's mine.
I have no idea where yours is.
Where's yours? And I was like, oh, well, I'm pretty sure I got one. Like, it felt right. Like, I think I got one.
I can shoot this rifle at 1,000 yards. I'm pretty sure I can hit a target at 100.
Yeah, and then I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm like, let's just go walk down there. Like, they're dead. Let's just go walk down. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's tall grass and it's just under the tall grass. I don't know. So we walked down there. We looked at Daniel and so we're like, yep, dude, that was a perfect shot. You got it. Dropped right there. Funny, what happened? Like, I could have sworn I hit one. And then we looked up and it was like 10 yards spot. Yeah. No, it was more than that.
It was probably 25 yards away.
Yeah, we're like,
but
oh,
it was
there
right
it
on
is.
The tree line.
And this is where trying to play dual duty of cameraman and shooter just is very hard to do. And so I wanted to make a good shot. And so I actually had great camera footage, perfect focus, perfect position of where the pigs were coming out. But then when we actually took the shot, I forgot to move the camera over. So we took the shot and the video was just nothing, a tree line. But then they all run through the video. And then when we look back in the video, I see my pig run back into frame and die. So I'm like, ha, that's what happened.
Yeah. And sure enough, it was the one that was taking a dump right before it.
Yep.
So we end up actually we did some other stuff first, right? What were we doing?
Well, we were down there and we're like, where are we going to put these things? We've got all this corn and all this stuff in the back. We're like, well, we're already here. We've already made a commotion. Let's go ahead and fill up the feeders.
And it's only about 7:30, and I think sunset's at
9,
8:45 or 9. Yeah. So we're like, let's take it easy. Let's fill up the feeders, and let's take our time, drink some beer, cleaning these things out.
So we got the feeders all taken care of, loaded up the pigs, went back to camp, and it's a couple miles back to camp. So then we got everything kind of sorted out back to camp, and then it starts raining on us.
Yep. Welcome to Texas.
Yep. And then at first it was just like, oh, okay, this is just going to be a little sprinkle like it was before. And then it started really raining. Like, well, we're kind of committed. Let's just keep cleaning pigs in the rain. But we were under some thick live oak trees, so it wasn't too bad. But we got all that taken care of. We always do the gutless method just because dealing with pig guts is not a lot of fun.
No.
And you can pretty much get everything except the tenderloins, which are tiny, and you don't really want them on a wild pig anyway. So we do everything gutless method, got them taken care of. You hung up yours. I got mine done on the tailgate. We didn't take bets, but we had guessed on the weight, and I think we were both pretty close.
Yeah, I think you said 87
and 60 is what I said.
I think I said 95 and 65.
Yeah.
And it was 90 and 64.
Yeah. So we were both really close.
We were on it.
And I used to just be horrible at it. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, it's about a 95-pound pig. It's 160.
Yeah, it always gets low. I don't know why. Like on deer, I can tell. Easy.
So when he said 87, I'm like, well, it's probably more like 200.
No, but we bracketed it pretty good. Dumped those. Then what did we do that night?
So it's funny. We dumped them, and Pliny's like, you know what I've always wanted to do out here? There's this dump site with all this trash.
That was the same night, wasn't it?
Pliny's like, there's a toilet over there. And I've always wanted to shoot the toilet.
I'm like, every time I go out here, I think about shooting that toilet.
And then as he's telling me this, we hear this noise, and we both kind of look up, and there's this big cow
in the
eating
dump.
The freaking trash.
Yeah.
Like eating, it's not like trash like you would find at a dump site in the city. It's like metal and like appliances.
Yeah. It's just like wire and like
Toilets.
Junk from an old camper.
So we end up going, all right, let's shoot the toilet.
Yeah.
So you tell them about the pistol that you got.
Yeah. So I got the new Walther PDP, and I've experimented with that. I'm a lefty. I'm wrong-handed, so I'm very picky about guns that are ambi or very lefty friendly. And that's a gun that I just love. So that was fun to shoot. And then also Taurus sent me the new GX4 to review, and I've actually really enjoyed shooting that gun. So I'll post a whole review on that. We're like, we're just sitting out here. We both have multiple handguns and lots of 9mm, nothing but ammo and time on our hands. So let's shoot this toilet.
And we had shot the pigs early enough in the night that there's still plenty of daylight out.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you've never shot us, because it's always dark when you're going out there.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just don't want to shoot in the dark and not know what's going on, whatever. So shot it, and then what's funny is there's actually 2 toilets out there. And so the one I shot with the 9mm, perfect shot on it, you just see the porcelain, very satisfying. And then Daniel shot this like...
I'm a Glock guy, first of all. And I never was until about probably 3 years ago, and I've turned into a Glock guy.
But I feel like this is so appropriate for a Glock guy. Yeah. The one you shot was like a nylon squatty body.
Well, so I line up on it, and I'm like, I'm going to shoot right down the hole. And I take a shot, and it doesn't move. I'm like...
That's not that cool.
Well, that didn't, did I miss? I thought I'm a pretty good shot with a handgun. And I shoot 2 more times, and I'm like, man, I'm terrible with this thing. And then Plany's like, I think that's actually a plastic toilet. We walk up, sure enough, it's a plastic toilet. And I put my bullet holes right where I wanted to.
Yep.
And then we proceeded to get 2 guns out and just obliterate the porcelain one.
To the porcelain throne.
Which it was very sadly... really satisfying.
Yeah.
It was really fun to shoot a toilet.
Then what did we do after that? We went back to camp. I think we were
pretty beat.
Well, we had a huge, on the road down, we had both had just like a huge burger at Sonic. So we weren't even that hungry. So we just kind of snacked a little bit. And down there's no internet or anything in that cabin. There's just an old DVD player with like movies from the $5 bin. Like DVDs, these like movie circles. Let's watch these. And so, of course, we watched like none of the movies are good. So we're like, well, what do you want to watch? And we narrowed it down to Napoleon Dynamite. So,
which I hadn't seen in years and years and years. And what I remembered of it was really stupid.
Yeah, for sure.
Second time around, freaking hilarious,
but still really stupid.
Really stupid, but really funny at the same time.
Tina, eat your food.
What are you going to do today, Napoleon? Whatever I want to. God.
And so I fell asleep like halfway through. Yeah. I was beat.
It was a long day. So our goal the next morning was, let's go out and let's put corn on the pipeline and see what we can do. And then we remembered, crap, we don't have any corn.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, well, let's go out in the morning and just go see if we can stalk some pigs. We'll sit on the pipeline anyway, see if anything comes out, and then we'll go stalk pigs.
Yep.
So we woke up bright and early, hit the snooze button a couple of times.
Yeah.
We were tired.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to get in a blind and had to be quiet. We were going to go stalk. So we go out to the pipeline. We sat there for 20 minutes maybe. We were pretty...
it was probably 45.
Yeah.
It was a while.
And we got up and we started stalking. Oh, no, that's what it was. So we're sitting on the pipeline on the back half of it, and 900 yards out, Pliny spots a pig. And I'm like, dude, here we go again with the pig thing. Oh, I see a pig.
I'm like, there's a pig. There's a whole bunch of pigs. They're running right to left.
I'm like, no, they're not. And I look out, I'm like, dude, that's an unbelievable spot.
I'm like, yeah, there's 6 pigs at 1,000 yards. They're going.
And most of them were piglets.
Yeah.
So we jump in the truck. We drive down there. They ended up going right to left, and then they went back to the right.
Yeah.
So we park and we start hauling booty into the woods.
Yep. So we were like, maybe we can catch up on them. Maybe they just went right back into the trees, 100 yards back, and we'll find out where they're hanging out. So we tried that, and then we never saw anything. There's a big like cattle tank down there. It's kind of the only water on the property. It's like, let's check that out. That's a natural place for them to go. Nothing there. So we kind of hiked. Oh, we spooked a deer on the way.
We spooked a deer. Here's I'm actually glad this happened, but it's something I learned. So keep in mind, this rifle, I've never shot a 6.5 Creedmoor at any animal, right? I had one before. It was a Ruger Precision, which, by the way, is still a great gun. It's a great entry-level precision rifle. I'd only shot the match-grade bullets So I had match grade bullets in the night before, 147 grain ELD match from Hornady, when I shot that pig in the neck. And when I shot her in the neck, it went through her neck and then it exploded her shoulder. So what I was reading about, can you take an animal with a match grade bullet? The answer is yes, but it's not going to penetrate very far before it explodes.
Because it's a thin jacket, it just tears apart. So there was no exit wound on this animal.
No exit wound.
The bullet just blew up.
There's a neck wound, and then, you could tell that the back shoulder was gone because I went to lift up the leg and it was
the back shoulder.
The back.
We make fun of Kyle for saying front shoulders, and now you're over here talking about back shoulders.
I actually meant it in the right context. The shoulder that was laying on the ground.
There we go.
So not the shoulder that was up, where the entry wound went in on the neck. The shoulder behind that, the back shoulder. I went to lift up the leg and it was just jelly. So I'm like, all right, this thing's probably done. Yeah. But I ended up cleaning it out. We got a picture of it. I mean, that bullet just. It tore it up. It just tore it up. So when we're sitting at the pond, I'm like, all right, well, I have these soft nose bullets that are meant for hunting. Let me switch out my mag and put in soft nose.
And it was good, like Norma.
It's good ammo. It's 140 grain
ammo.
I'd shot it at 100 yards at a range, and it grouped. Not quite as good as my match grade, but good enough. It had a deer grouping for sure.
Yeah.
So we end up stomping around the woods, and I don't know, probably 20, 30 minutes after the pond, we're walking through this clearing.
Well, and our whole strategy in doing this is like, there's enough pigs here, and if we're back in the woods, not out in the open, if we keep walking long enough, we're gonna run into something.
Yeah. Because
it's a strategy that I've done many times, and sometimes you go on a death march and you walk 7-8 miles, sometimes you walk half a mile, but as long as you keep going, eventually you're going to run into something. So that's what we're doing.
I feel like the times we've done it have been in the morning.
Yeah.
Between, first light and about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it always works better in the morning.
It's worked really well. So we end up walking around this corner, and Pliny's walking first, and he just stops. And so we've hunted enough where when we see each other's body action, we get ready. So he stops. I immediately grab my rifle. I've got it slung around my chest and start pulling it up, and I walk around the corner. And there's a big freaking boar. He's probably 150, 160 pounds.
Yeah. Well, and what was hilarious, because I was like, this pig can see me from where I am. So I stopped out in the open, and I literally had my left hand. I had my GoPro on the little swivel clippy mount hanging from my waist, and my rifle on the other side. I had one hand on my GoPro, one hand on my rifle. And I'm like, I don't think I can draw either one of these without spooking the pig. So I ended up just sneaking my hands back up to my ears, plugging them in my ears, ignoring the fact that I had ear pros sitting on the top of my head, my active walkers. And so I just put my fingers in my ears and I'm like, Daniel, take him.
So I come around the corner on the brush, and I do the stupid thing. I have walkers sitting on the top of my head too. And I just come on. And so as soon as I turn the corner, the pig his face is in the ground. He's probably 40 yards away.
Yeah. Just digging at something.
And he looks up directly at us. And I'm like, all right, so pigs don't have great eyesight, but at 40 yards, he probably just saw us.
He knew something was there.
So I had the opportunity to either try to get down on a knee or just stop and see if he stays. But my thought was, he's probably going to bolt.
Yeah.
So I immediately get on him. I'm on a 4X zoom. So at 40 yards, plenty of zoom. I put it right on his vitals, take the shot, and I see him go.
Yeah.
So he took the smack. He didn't fall over, but he started leaning backwards. And then if you've ever shot at pigs or you've seen pigs and you've spooked them, they duck low and just bolt.
Yeah.
So he took the shot and then kind of peeled off to the right or to the left, and then caught himself and then ran.
So he was hit for sure. And at first when I was watching it, I'm 5 feet away from you. I saw a dust cloud behind it, but seeing the animal's reaction, I'm like, I saw a dust cloud and I saw that he took a hit. So I know you actually got a pass through, which makes sense at that close range.
And I was shooting with the soft point bullets instead of the match grade. So I was like, you know what? I just want to punch a hole in something.
Yep.
and get in the vitals. So we end up running after him immediately because we're like, all right, so that was a hit. He ran though. He's a big animal. And this is the toughest thing about hunting hogs. It's happened a few times. You've got a good hit. I shot a pig, small pig, with a 62 grain soft nose 223 round, and didn't have an exit. Had a little entry wound. He's probably a 50 or 60 pound pig. I found him dead. Never found blood.
Yeah, it's just the thick, long hair. Their hair is at least twice as long as a deer's. And so often the big boars just roll in the mud. And so they've got mud and dust all over them. And a weird thing that I've noticed, I've seen it happen with deer, but it happens a lot more with pigs, is the lungs or the guts or whatever clogs up the exit wound. I don't really know why that is. Probably has something to do with the fact that their hide can be an inch thick at times. But
yeah, it reminded me of when we were out in Coleman and I shot a sow with my bow. It was my first bow kill ever.
Yeah.
I shot her from 20 yards, whatever it was, high lung shot, double lung, saw the arrow, had to pass through, it was bloody, didn't find blood for 80 yards. And then
there was blood on the arrow, but not a drop on the ground for a while.
80 yards later, it looks like someone took out a red paint can.
Yeah.
And then we found her 15 yards away from there.
Yep.
Right? So anyway, we ended up not finding this pig. We looked around for probably 30, 45 minutes, couldn't find blood. This kind of geography is so thick that it's like, all right, we kind of saw where he peeled off to, but he could be 200 yards away. He could be 30 yards away, in all honesty, and we're probably not going to find him unless we find blood.
Because it's all, just imagine, it's all just like limestone, just crumbly, jagged rocks, cactus, and really, really thick cedars.
Yeah.
So you could just walk by and just not look into this. You could look into one cedar and not the other, and he could be right there.
Yep. So we ended up looking for a while, and then we said, all right, well, let's head back. And so Pliny had his 270 that he hadn't sighted in, and I had this Christensen, which I'd only sighted in at 100, and I wanted to take it out to 1,000. So we ended up going back out to the pipeline and saying, all right, let's spend the rest of the afternoon or morning into the afternoon just doing some shooting, and we'll go into town, grab lunch, grab corn, and come back.
Yep. So we got that all set up. I had tried to bore sight my rifle, but I had done it inside my apartment at very short distance. Turns out I was nowhere close. So we put up the plate, walked it up onto the plate, then got it on target, got it zeroed. And then these are my hand loads, so I couldn't really look up data from anything else. I was just kind of guessing at it. But got my dope out to 400, felt really good about it, but I didn't have a lot of that ammo left. So I kind of, when I had 4 rounds left, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to call it quits here just because I want to save some of this ammo. Then you pulled out your gun, you were on the money, and then I think you felt great, 400, 500, 600, 700, I think, is the first time it got a little bit iffy.
Yeah, it's funny. So with the last time I sighted in a rifle out to 1,000 was that Ruger Precision with a Nikon FX 1000. It's a great setup, right? But when I was doing that last time, it was just about getting on the plate. It wasn't about like where I was on the plate. It's about hitting the plate. And if I hit the plate, move back.
And when we say a plate, we're talking 12-incher. So not some teeny tiny thing, but not, like people using a B-27 full man-sized torso target, nothing like that. Yeah.
So this time we spray painted it orange. We went back probably 3 or 4 times to re-spray paint it. But this was about, all right, so I switched. This is a funny side note. I switched from MOA to Mills. So all my scopes have always been MOA. We decided, hey, if we both shoot Mills, then it makes it a lot easier to communicate.
And it was like the first time we were both speaking the same language.
It was awesome, by the way.
So we're looking through scopes and we're like, okay, up 0.2.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. It was
nice.
Pretty cool. And in both of our scopes, it's the same reticle.
Yep.
So my NX8 and Pliny's SHV, it's got this little thing on the right side, which is like what do you call that? Just a scale, I guess?
Well, so the main reticle is just scaled in, mine at least is 0.5 mil increments, and then it's got this smaller scale on the side that's in tenths. I think yours is maybe in 0.2.
Mine's is in 0.2s and then tenths.
And then tenths. But that way, it's nice to be able to look at it in tenths because your clicks are in tenths.
Yeah.
So we can be really precise and measure exactly where we're hitting. And so instead of being like, yeah, come up 4 inches, we're like, no.
2 clicks.
Yeah, dial this much.
So with what's called shooting MOA or sub MOA, it basically means shooting sub 1 inch groupings at 100 yards, 2 inch at 200 yards, 3 inch at 300 yards, and so on and so forth. So I was out to 600 yards. I was like, man, I'm shooting sub MOA. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you're shooting like a 4 inch group at 600,
which is unreal, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't shooting 1 round, I was shooting 3, 4, 5 rounds, and it was just hitting the same spot. So we go out to 700 yards, and I'm using a Hornady ballistic calculator app, right? And I basically looked at all the data, and they'll get you close. But at 700 yards, this happened last time as well, things get wonky.
Yeah.
Like you start seeing the target differently. You start seeing the mirage. You start running into multiple wind patterns. Everything starts getting thrown off. At 400, 500, 600 yards, it's getting harder to hit the target, but you don't have to hold that much for wind. You still got to hold. 700 yards, it's like, all right, you're in big boy territory now.
Yeah, and that was kind of our joke. We're like, okay, cool. We got our hunting rifles. I had my hunting rifle out to 3 and 4, and I was ecstatic that it shot really well at those distances. But then we're like, yeah, 6 and 7, that's what kind of separates the boys from the men.
Yeah. Yeah. So at 700 yards, I probably shot 10, 15 times. And I was really, I had a ton of ammo. And so I'm like, we're figuring this out. And I kept seeing, so there's this rock pile behind where we're shooting as a berm. And so you keep seeing like dust kick up, right? And the problem is when you're that far out, you can't tell really where the hit is. You can just see the dust and you can see where the wind's blowing it. So I kept thinking I'm shooting off to the left or off to the right because I'm misreading the wind call.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that was the fault of me, the spotter.
But in fairness, even at that distance, like the spotter's kind of guessing too.
Yeah.
Because it's real hard to see. So I end up going, I should have tried this earlier, but I'm like, I think I'm low. So I end up dialing up like 3 clicks. And sure enough, bing, 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 I start just nailing the target.
Yeah, you were on it.
So
lesson learned, if you're seeing a dust cloud that looks left, right, it's either two things. It's either you don't have a bubble level on your rifle and your level is really inconsistent and you actually are left, right, right, left, all over the place. Or you're hitting low and you're just seeing the dust cloud kicking up. You're seeing the dust above the impact, and that's what this was.
Because you can, when you shoot high, you can tell.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
When you hit left or right, it's a little hard to tell based on the wind.
Yeah.
So hit 700, we get on 8. 8 was on. It was a little high on the plate, so I ended up doping it down a little bit, but hit on 800. Yeah, Pliny's shooting his hand loads at this point.
Yeah, and this was kind of my first disappointment of the whole trip. So I had built up several hand loads. So originally I was shooting the 140 ELD match. My rifle seemed to really, really like that bullet.
And this is not his hunting rifle, by the way.
Yeah, this is my 6.5 Creedmoor. Well, it's the rifle I hunted with the day before, not my intentional hunting rifle. With all the ammo shortages and all the stuff that we've run into in the last year, I have not been able to find those bullets either as loaded cartridges or as just components. I've not been able to find them at all, but I was able to find the 130s. So I'm like, well, the BC's still pretty good. They're made the same way. It's just a little lighter weight. The BC's not quite as good, but let's try it. So I built up a bunch of those, built up 6 different batches with slightly different powder charges and slightly different seating depths. Found one that, man, at 100 yards, I was shooting a ragged hole. So I'm like, wow, this is a very consistent round, but that's only part of the story. It's consistent, but I realized that, yeah, I didn't push all the way to the max. I was just under the max in the Hornady loading manual, but I'm starting to realize that manual is very consistent or very conservative. And I almost think it's intentional that the loads
blow you up.
Well, yes, that they don't want to blow you up, but the loads that you can make on your own are never going to be quite as good as the ones that they can sell you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized, I'm like, man, this was shooting so good at close ranges, and man, 3, 4, 5, I was like,
oh, you were
first
on it.
shot.
Yeah,
like,
you were on it. Center of the plate, on it.
But then when we started getting out far, I'm like, man, I'm dialing so much. And just that load was just running out of gas.
And you have a total of 10 mils on your scope.
Yeah,
right?
so I'm shooting the Leupold VX3 LRP, long range precision, and I love the clicks on that. They're very firm feeling, but it's only 5 mils per turn. And in my scope, I don't have a crazy angle on my base, so I only have about 10 mils of total adjustment from my 100-yard zero, because I refuse to do a 200-yard zero. I want to be zeroed at 100. So from doing that, I'm like, shoot, I'm going to run out of room. And
this isn't like 700. You started going, uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not looking good.
And it's like 700 was no, it was 800 for you that was tough.
7, I was great.
Yeah.
800, I think I was first shot on 700. But then 800, I was struggling. And then 900, I'm like, dude, that's about all I got. Like,
So
I'm like 8.9 mils or something.
It's funny. So we had Pliny had, I think, 5 rounds left, and he's like, "Do I just save these for 1,000, or do I just keep shooting at 900?" And I think you made the comment like, "Well, if I can't hit at 900, there's no way I can hit at 1,000."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he says that, puts 2 more rounds in. I think his second shot hits the plate, and he's like, "Yes, done.
Yeah, I got 3 more rounds left.
3 more at 1,000." So we end up backing up to 1,000, and so we've got. What's interesting is using a ballistic calculator. The first time you dial something in, it gets you close.
Yeah.
Right. And the biggest challenge of that is from 100 to 600. You can still see enough where if it gets you close, you're good.
Yep.
700 beyond, it's like, if it gets me close, like that may not actually help me all that much.
Yeah.
I could miss and miss big.
Yeah.
Right. So I end up going, no, you went first because you're like, let me fire my 3 rounds.
Yeah. And at that point, I dialed to max, and I saw I was at a weird 9.9, and I'm like, that's just hard for me to think about. So I dialed back down to 9, and I'm like, okay,
which is a great call, by the way.
I'm like, that way I'm gonna hold a solid increment. I'm gonna hold 2.
Yes.
And then I can still dial in individual clicks. My first shot way high. Second one brought it back down a little bit high. My third shot
just barely over the plate.
over the target. And then at that point, I was cursing. I was like, damn, if I hadn't shot at those 2 little pigs, I would have had 2 more bullets, and I would have been on holding with this round that's totally out of gas at 1,000. I still could have hit it. Yeah. But what I learned, unfortunately, I have over 100 of these rounds left in my closet
great
at home.
Hunting rounds.
And they're great out to about 7. Like, I am lights out with them, but I've got a match this weekend that's 500 through 1,000. And so still don't really have a game plan there.
Do you want to borrow my Christensen?
May have to, man.
So we end up, I end up starting to shoot, and so I think the ballistic calculator said like, and I have a much more efficient round because it's a heavier grain, right? It's a 147 grain, so I don't have to dial as much.
And you have the twist to support it, so it's a really high BC.
So I end up shooting at like, every time I dialed based on the ballistic calculator, my rifle was a little higher. So if it said 6 on the ballistic calculator, I was at like 6.2. So it said like 8.1, and I dial up to 8.5. And I shoot, miss, shoot my second time, and I got lucky. We're both like, I didn't see a dust cloud, and I think the plate's moving. I think you might have hit it.
Yep.
Right? But it wasn't a solid hit. It was like an edge hit somewhere.
Yeah.
So I dial down a little bit, shoot again, shoot a 4th time, and we see that again. I'm like, no, I hit it that time. I just think it was off. Now, the wind was real swirly. So it was going right to left, and then it was switching to left to right.
Well, and I remember at one point looking through the spotter, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm seeing both a left to right and a right to left at the same time at different ranges throughout. So the bullet's like the Robin Hood arrow in the movies. It's like way off to one side, way off to the other, and then finally finds the target.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what was going on.
That's exactly what it was. So I'm looking at going, my goal was to hit the target within 5 rounds, and I hit it twice, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right. And I think I'm at like 8.3 now on my mils. And so at this distance, so each click is 1/10 of a mil, but out at that range, that's 3.6 inches. So 3 clicks is over half the plate.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so if I'm off by 2 clicks, I could be missing the plate completely.
Yeah.
Whereas at 100 yards, 2 clicks is less than an inch.
Yep.
Right. So that's the magnitude difference. So I end up shooting a 4th or a 5th shot, and I hit the upper right side of the target. So it's a circular target. We had brackets in it. I hit the bracket, knocks the target off.
Yeah, it was an aluminum carabiner connecting the target to the chain. So aluminum, obviously pretty soft. So you hit that and just blew it up.
So the target starts swinging, and it's swinging like a pendulum left to right, but it's still facing us broadside, right? And so Pliny, you were talking about something. I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't even know. I'm like, well, yeah, the wind now is probably moving. And then you just start shooting.
So he's talking. I'm like, all right, so I was obviously high. I misread the wind by a little bit. So let me dial down 2, re-rack around. And within like 2 seconds, and Pliny's going, I'm not even listening. I watched the plate swing out to the left so we have these wooden legs. I watch it swing out in the legs, and I'm like, all right, it's coming back to where it just was. Take a shot. The plate swings flat and just smacks the center of the plate.
Yeah, you nailed it. And we have one side of the plate painted bright orange and the other side painted black. So it just started spinning. So it was really obvious that you had hit it. Yeah. I'm like, oh, whoa, you got it.
So that was really cool. And then so Pliny didn't have any more rounds for his 6.5. So you ended up taking a shot with mine. What'd you think?
Dude, great setup.
Yeah. You hit it on your first or second shot.
I think I missed it my first shot, and then like 2 and 3 I was on it or something like that.
And so I ended up dialing down. So I was at 8.1 when I hit it when it was moving, and then you went to 8. And then I'm like, all right, let me try another shot. I got back up. You had hit it twice out of like 3 times.
Yeah.
I got back up, took one shot, nailed it. I'm like, all right, this thing's on. We're good.
And so great scope, great rifle, and it absolutely loves that ammo that you're running through it.
Yeah.
Which is a very high BC bullet. Because sometimes a bullet that heavy, you're really kind of pushing your limits. So it could either be great or your rifle just could not want to stabilize it. And your gun loves it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good setup. So that was a lot of fun. And by that time, it was probably 1 o'clock, and we're like, man, it's hot. We're hungry. Let's go into town.
Yep.
So we end up packing everything up, going into town. We wanted to get corn. We get into town, and it's the 4th of July now. So it's Sunday, the 4th of July. And there was this burger place that's kind of like a Mexican place as well that we were going to go to, and they were closed.
Yep.
So there's a new place called the Horny Hills Cafe.
We're like, I don't know about that name.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But we walk in, and the name explains itself. There's just mounts everywhere.
Yeah, euros all over the walls.
Euros all over the place. So we end up sitting down. There's no one in the restaurant. The guy was super cool. He comes up to us. We're dressed in full camo, right? Because we had literally just packed our stuff and drove off. And he's telling us about all his hunting adventures and Aoudad. And
well, I think one of the coolest things, he showed us this Euro mount that had canine teeth.
Oh, that's right.
And it's something that's like one in every like 5,000 deer. I don't even know the number he said.
It's ridiculous.
But it's like it's this very old gene that that still surfaces every once in a while. And so it was really cool to see this old buck that had canine teeth like a dog.
Yeah, and it was funny because he's telling us a story. He's like, yeah, I brought it into my buddy to mount it, and I was going to do like a regular mount on it. And then the guy's like, hey, man, there's something stuck in this thing's gums.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's canine. He's like, well, I don't want to mount it regularly. I want a Euro now because you got to see the canine.
Yeah,
right?
You got to have that story to tell.
Yeah, so that was really cool. He was a really, really cool guy. We ended up talking about hunting, and Pliny and I left that conversation going, yeah, this guy knows his stuff. Like, he's not just blowing smoke.
Because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, yeah, I
met at the range.
Yeah.
I shoot Neil guy with a 338 Lapua. What kind of rifle? Christensen something with a something scope and a Schmiss and Benter.
Yeah. I shot this like Tyrannosaur with a 50 BMG, but it was okay because I had a Vortex. like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you get a lot of that, but this guy was like, he was legit and he had some real cool stories. But the food was all fried, right? So we're looking at the menu and the guy's like, hey, I got a special. It's a chicken fried steak.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like, and we're sitting there at the table, like, dude, we got all brown food.
We got fried pickles. I got chicken tenders and fried onion rings. You got chicken fried steak.
Hey, I did get green beans, if that counts for anything.
So we end up leaving there, and Pliny had got this really cool shirt. So there's a grocery store that's called Lowe's.
So it's an Ace Hardware / grocery store / feed store.
7-Eleven /
like the ice cream's next to the paint.
Yeah, exactly. There's this really cool shirt though. It's a dry wicking shirt, and it's got a picture of an access buck, and it says Hunt Texas, and then it says Rock Springs on the side. So we had gotten it the day before. I'm like, man, just like Pliny with my Night Force, I kind of want that shirt.
Yeah, except you played that a little better than I did. So paying out for a T-shirt instead.
Well, and what's funny is I feel terrible about. I still owe you $10. I got to the restaurant. I'm like, Pliny, I don't have my wallet. I left it at the camp. So I'm like, Pliny, would you mind buying me this shirt?
Oh, the shirt I'm wearing right now? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I got mine in green. His was desert tan. But the shirt comes into play later in the story. So you got to tell the story of the shirt. So Pliny buys the shirt. We walk out. We go back. And then that night, it starts raining real bad.
Yeah. And at first we're like, oh, it's just going to drizzle like the night before. And then as we were driving back, we actually pulled over because we're like, you think that one cloud, that big like triangle shaped one, you think that one's spinning?
It was probably like 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon too.
Yeah.
It wasn't that late. And
So
we're
like, let's wait that one out a little bit.
it's dark, and it looks like something nefarious is about to happen.
Yeah. So we wait that one out. Then we get back into camp, and sure enough, it starts pouring like right as we're almost at camp. And we're like, oh, dude, it's like, what was crazy is those big raindrops. And this is almost, people talk in Arizona, New Mexico, talk about these kind of monsoon type storms where it can be completely dry, but then you can have an inch of rain in 30 minutes. It's one of those type of things. And we're like, oh, I'm kind of nervous about these two little muddy spots. But we got through them, got back to camp, and then we're pretty much just like, yep, let's just get in here and not do anything for a little while.
Well, and what's funny too about Rock Springs is it's so rocky everywhere that for the most part, driving on the roads, it's like, well, there's rock underneath, so we're good. But deer camp is probably at one of the lowest points in the entire property. So we're driving up on top, and as we start heading down, and elevation changes maybe 50 feet. It's not huge.
Yeah.
But when it comes to rain, it's going to go downhill, right?
Yeah.
And so those two turns.
Well, and it's all going to roll off the rocks into that one gully.
Yep. So those two turns are in this gully. So we end up getting back to camp, and it's probably, 5 o'clock. And we're like, all right, well, what do we want to do? Like, there's an option to just kind of hang out at camp and drink beer and watch TV, but we came out here to hunt. Or there's an option to try to get back in the truck, drive through the rain if it stops, because it was still just coming down.
Yep. Or
if it stops, we could just walk outside of camp and just kind of see if we can bump something up. Right.
So at that point, we're like, okay, we hung out for a little bit. The rain slowed down. It was just kind of barely sprinkling at that point, I think. We went back out, got to the spot that was really questionable, and sure enough, it was 6-8 inches deep with water, and we knew it was really muddy rather than solid rock. So we tried this one route that we thought maybe would get us around it, but no go.
Nope.
It would have been like going straight through cedar trees, and it was worse. So we went back out there, and we just started throwing rocks and just dragging old cedar branches into this mud puddle, and we just filled it up with as many branches as we could. Like, if we get enough stuff in there will be traction. Like, we won't sink.
And luckily, like, for whatever reason, there was a bunch of dead cedars just laying on the ground right there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
So we probably threw 50 or 60 cedar branches in that thing. And still, I put it in 4 low and gunned it through there. And it was a little crazy driving in all that stuff. Like, my whole truck, I mean, we're talking several days later, and my truck is still covered in mud after.
Well, and what's funny is we're like, all right, all we have to do is get through. So there's a turn that goes from right to left going out, and then the next one goes from left to right. So we're like, all right, so we have to go through the big one, which was the first one, and then come into the second one, and then we're fine.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's Golden City. So Pliny does a great job navigating through the first one. I'm white knuckling, going, man, I don't want to get stuck here. This is going to suck.
You're just like, glad it's not my truck.
Yeah, exactly. We're sliding going into the second one. The second one was way worse, and I think it was less water, but we didn't put trees down.
Yeah.
So we go through the second one, and we're like, all right, home city. Then probably the next 150 yards, it's pure mud.
Yeah, it's just not ever like any one spot that's deep, but it's just like, we're just sliding the whole time, and I'm just steering as fast as I can into the turn.
And I'm like congratulating him. I'm like, hey, way to go. He's like, we're not done yet.
I'm just gunning it. Yeah. But we made it. We got out of there.
We made it. Made it back to the pipeline. We had corn, so we bought corn, and we threw out some corn on the pipeline, just kind of see what would come out, hoping some pigs would come out at we put corn from probably 400 yards to 200 yards away from where we parked.
Yep.
So we got on the ground and just kind of sat there waiting.
Well, and after we had been shooting our rifles on that same place and we knew our dope, we're like, well, I don't want to shoot anything within 100 yards.
Yeah.
That just doesn't even seem right at this point.
When there's 1,000 yards to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of why we're like, yeah, 2 to 4. That seems great.
Yeah.
So we saw some deer come out. I think what was really cool is, I think it was at that moment, you're like, dude, look at that little fawn.
Yeah.
There was this fawn that it had probably been born like yesterday or the day before, just wobbly legs, still just barely walking.
It was super cute.
And it just made it across the road and lay down in the brush. We're like, dude, that's awesome.
You got a great picture of it too.
Yeah, I gotta pull that memory card and post it because I think it turned out really well.
Yeah, and they're not like the picture that he took. It's not like this like beautiful little thing. It's like it's a really cute animal, but its hair's all over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of like
disastrous.
The rugged like rawness of it is kind of what makes it cool.
Absolutely,
like, it's very real.
Yeah. So we end up sitting out there. The cool. I think the highlight of that night was we had a couple of does that came out, and there was probably a year and a half year old doe. She walked within 40 yards of us. She kept looking at us, walking closer, and we're like, we had the wind on them, which great, and we kind of tested out like, hey, we're not going to move, and she never busted us, which is kind of cool.
We just stayed stock, just perfectly still. She walked up to like 40 yards and just kept looking at us, and like, yeah,
and then just walked off.
I guess they're no problem.
Yeah. So we ended up not seeing anything that night. Drove back, had to go through the mosh pit again.
We didn't see any pigs, just the deer. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't see any pigs. Drove back through the mosh pit. I think we watched Mythbusters.
Yep. And
we said, hey, all right, the next day, that was Sunday night. The next day is Monday, last day hunting. Let's get out early. So we had hunted at Pliny's blind. So that place is pretty much blown up because we shot 2 out of the 3 shootable pigs that he had been seeing on camera.
And tromped around a lot.
And tromped around a bunch. Then we went to the pipeline, shot out there the day before, and tromped around a bunch out there. So Pliny's like, hey, let's go over to the back end of where my spot is and see what we can see.
And this is where, so I have a whole podcast. Several episodes ago, I talked about I had recorded a podcast in the cabin, went up on this hill to post the podcast, and then sure enough, I heard like a squeal of a pig on the breeze, and I just grabbed my shotgun, went running into the woods, and I got one. So I'm like, I know they're back there, and we haven't messed with anything. So I'm like, that's probably a good place to try for this morning.
So I ended up going out, and I'm like, man, I want to go lightweight today. And I've got my Christensen slung around my chest, and that's it, right? I've got nothing. I didn't bring my bino harness or anything. Because when you're hunting, when you're stalking, there's nowhere in this area, unless we get back on the pipeline, that's longer than 100 yards. Probably not even longer than like 60 yards, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I don't need to range something. I can see it with my naked eye. I want to get in a position to be able to take a good shot, and if I have to drop to my belly, be able to do that without.
And I kind of did the same. I brought my hunting rifle that I had sighted in the day before, but I didn't even bring my big camera. I just grabbed the GoPro.
Yep. So we start walking around, and by the way, at this point, I'm donning my brand new, Pliny paid for, Axis Deer Hunt Texas Rock Spring shirt that we had bought at Lowe's. So we're walking around. We were probably out there for, I don't know, 30 minutes. We're probably a mile away from the place, from the truck where we had parked. And Pliny's like, oh, I see something. And we look out, and there's cows, of course, because there's cows everywhere. So there was a baby cow that, if you ever are walking through the woods and there's a silhouette behind a tree and it looks like a pig, just make sure it's not a baby calf.
Yeah.
Because they're shorter, they have longer legs than pigs, but you can suddenly be like, uh-oh, there's a pig over there.
Yeah.
So Pliny sees that, and I'm like, we'll see something soon. And it's, by the way, it's perfect hunting weather. It's like
this misty, and I like it because, and I think the way I described it later is it prolongs the morning because you never have harsh light, so you never have shadows really. Yep. So you're not ever squinting. You can see into the shadows. You can see into the brush really well. So kind of that misty gray light is my favorite hunting scenario.
It was unbelievable.
Light wind enough that you can feel it and it's predictable, but not enough that it's blowing you away either.
Yep. So we're looking at the cows. It's the first animal we had seen. I literally looking at the cows. I take a look to my left, and behind this tree, I'm like, there's a black shape back there. So when there's cows in the area, there's usually a lot of cows, right?
Yep.
And so I'm like, that's probably a calf. And I'm watching, I'm like, Pliny, I see something over there. Let's just wait a second. And then, so if you've ever hunted pigs, when a pig moves, it's a pig.
Yeah, it's just the motion of those short little legs. Just
and like that face with the snout and the ears coming up. Like there's no doubt it's a pig.
Yep.
There's no question. It's got short little, like I'm doing a thing right now where it just kind of paddles its little legs. I'm like, there's a pig over there. And I don't know, it's probably 80 yards away, something like that.
But kind of through some cedars.
I'm like, dude, let's put a stalk on him. So we start walking, and the pig, it's heading out, right? And it hadn't busted us. It had nowhere to go. It's just kind of looking around, so it's not going fast. So we ended up start walking a little bit faster.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, dude, just follow it. We just have to move slightly faster than it does, and eventually we'll be right on it.
And the greatest thing about where we were at this point, there's not a lot of rocks here. So it made it, like when you're walking across a bunch of rocks, it makes a lot of noise. We're in more fields, so we're kind of booking it, right? So I kept seeing, I lost it for about a minute, and then I found it again. We're walking, and I see it creep around this one tree. I'm like, all right, if we go to the left, probably not going to get a good shot. Let's go to the right of this other tree. So we come up to the right, and the pig's there probably 35 yards away.
Yeah, close.
So we both drop to our knees, and I'm like, Pliny, there's a second pig. And so Pliny pulls his rifle out. I've got my rifle out. I'm on my knee. And I had remembered.
Well, you leaned over to tell me there was a second pig, and you leaned over and you saw that I already had my rifle.
Yeah, I lean over. I'm like, there's a barrel about 3 inches from my face, right? Not pointing at me, but like beside me, pointing in the same direction. I'm like, oh, look at that.
You're like, I guess he saw that too.
Yeah. So I'm like, he's like, I can't get a shot on it. And the pig that we had initially saw started coming out from the tree.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to drop to my belly, right? Pliny had told me a story a while back about when he was in Coleman, saw a pig from 170 yards. First thing he did is drop to his belly, get stable, take the shot. This is 35 yards, but I'm like, hey, if I'm going to get a stable shot on a pig, I'm going to get the most stable shot, drop in my belly. I'm going to do it. And
I think that's a great call, because it's like, it's not, people make it into a conversation of like, should I shoot prone here? Should I shoot standing? But it's like, if you have time, get into the best, most comfortable position you can, regardless of the range. And you had the time to do it, do it.
And so this is where like hunting is the most frustrating and fulfilling thing in the world. The last time we went down there, I did not take the time to do that. I took one headshot on a pig standing up that I missed. Then I took another shot from my knee that about 115 yards that I missed as well. And I said, I'm not missing the shot. I know it's only 35 yards. I'm going to do everything possible to put myself in a position to be successful. So I dropped down. And by the way, at this point, I had switched bullets. So the first pig I shot on the feeder earlier in the story was with those match grade bullets that blow up. Second pig that we didn't find, I shot with the soft nose. And so I'm like, you know what? My strategy going forward, shoot a pig in the shoulder, make sure it goes down. There's going to be enough shrapnel to get in its lungs, and I'll recover the hams and the back straps.
Yeah, we're not even worried about meat preservation as much as just stopping the thing.
This isn't like a deer. I would never hunt deer like that, because deer are softer animals. So you can put that soft nose through its lungs. It's going to bleed. You're going to find a blood trail, and it will die. Right? Pigs are unbelievably tough animals.
So you just got to stop it.
So I have these target rounds that are just going to blow up on impact. I drop down, pig ducks out, take a shot. And this is so cool. I'm glad you got it on video. It's so cool. The pig just flops over. Like I shot it and it gets blown back, falls on the ground. Right?
Yep.
Not like that.
Yeah.
That's it. That was the noise. And I'm like, bam, solid hit. And then the other pig starts running behind it, and I never found it. Pliny never found it on his scope either. But then I look, and my pig jumps up and starts running.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, crap. And again, pigs are like freaking ridiculously tough animals. So I'm like, so we pick up our stuff. I'm like, let's go. So we run after it, and sure enough, it dropped like 20 yards past that, right? And Pliny kicks it, dead, right? All intents and purposes is dead.
Yeah.
So we pin it on Onyx. We go and we look for the other pig, don't find it, probably hiking for, 15 minutes, come back. And
stopping to drop a pin on Onyx was very intentional, because in that area, it's just rocks and cedars. So you can...
I'm pretty sure I thought I found the place 3 times before looking at
one Onyx. Spot looks just like the next. So I've learned that I'm like, I'm going to feel confident in where I am, but I'm going to walk around and turn around 6 times and not know where it was.
Absolutely.
So stop and pin it. That's why Onyx, whether you use that or some other app, find some way to mark your spot. It's definitely worth doing.
So we get back, and the pig had moved. It was laying horizontal, and now it's laying vertical. And we're like, what in the world? And we look over, and its chest is moving a little bit.
Yeah.
So I had shot it I think it was in the brisket, and I had blown out its leg and part of its lungs, but I had shot it low. And which makes sense. I didn't hold, like when you're hunting, and again, I'm hunting with a new rifle, which, by the way, unbelievable rifle. But I didn't hold high at 35 yards. I should have held high.
Because you're using high or extra high scope rings, so
Correct.
you've got a 2-inch difference there.
Correct. So I shot about 2 inches low.
Yep.
But still stopped the animal, which is good. So we get there, and so there's an option to either shoot it again or stab it and cut its throat. So I only have my pocket knife. Again, this is how light we were carrying. So I take out my pocket knife and I go to stab it in the throat. I actually looked at the picture. I did it. You can see it on the back end of it. It went through, but I didn't stab in deep enough.
Yeah.
So I stabbed in, cut out. The thing freaks out, jumps up. So I'm like, all right, we're going to end this. I just pull up my Creedmoor, shoot it in the head from very point blank with a target round. And I mean, it was, there's nothing else to say there. Smoked it. Right?
Yeah. Like I mean, the head just turned to, I saw the eyeball dangling and the head just turned to mush. Like it was, yeah.
And at the end of the day, like this isn't something where it's like, hey, I want to, that's really cool. But there's an animal that was suffering, even though it's a pig. And we really wanted to just put it down as quick as possible.
So just use whatever you can to just
just put it out of its misery. So end up shooting it in the head. We pull her out. She's probably 65 pounds, someone there. We end up pulling her out, and I look at the shoulder I'd shot her in, and her shoulder was gone.
Yeah,
like the bullet impact. It was
on the entry side.
On the entry side, it had just exploded. It must have hit like the shoulder blade or something like that. It just exploded. So that whole shoulder was gone. The back shoulder was fine, which was great.
There you are with the back shoulder again, but
the opposite shoulder was fine.
Yeah.
But what was good is we ended up skinning it out, doing the gutless method, taking the hams off, taking one shoulder and the back straps, and this was the coolest part. There's what tree was that?
Oh, it's just an old dead cedar.
Old dead cedar. We ended up hanging all the meat on it.
Yeah, and so we were making jokes about they're going down to the pork chop tree, and just being silly.
Pork chops this year. So we end up putting all the meat on there, letting it cool down. And then like halfway through that process, we're like, well, neither of us really packed for shooting something. And
we don't have game bags or even a backpack.
Yeah. So and it's not a heavy animal, but I don't really want to haul a 65-pound animal back. We could gut it and wear it like a backpack, but I don't really want to do that.
Especially, we didn't mention the hogs we had killed the night before had fleas all over them.
All over them. We fought that battle.
My hog has fleas.
So Pliny's like, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we take off your shirt, put the arms together and loop them?
I like how my idea was for you to use your shirt, of course. Well, but I'm like, you shot the thing.
Yeah, it's your pig. Well, and again,
I have 50% ownership on this shirt, so I think I get to make the call.
This is the same Rock Spring shirt. So I ended up taking it off, tying the arms together, and this actually works way better than I thought it would.
Yeah, we just took the shirt and just turned it into just
a meat sack.
Yeah, a basket full of hog legs.
couple of ribeyes, couple of tenderloins. So we ended up taking the tenders off, putting them in there, and then we have 3 hoofs sticking out because the other shoulder didn't make it. And I don't know, it was probably 25 pounds. But we're hiking it out, and at that moment in time, I realized I'm either the coolest guy in the world, like the Corn Man, or I'm a total redneck walking around the woods with no shirt, a really expensive rifle on my chest, and a shirt full of pig guts on the back end of me.
But man, it was just like, well, plan what you can, improvise the rest, and man, we made it work out.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite hunting trips ever. A lot of it was, coming off the frustration of the last hunting trip, just being like utterly demoralized. Like, man, I should just sell all my guns and go back to playing golf, right? to like coming out there and taking 3 shots on pigs, killing 3 pigs, didn't recover one of them, having 3 really good shots. We had a successful 1, 2, 3 shoot, which was awesome, and then just a lot of fun shooting out at distance.
So at that point, we had 3 pigs in the cooler. It was starting to sprinkle on us a little bit, but we're like, let's go back out to that steel target. You had a Glock that had the TFX Pro sight on it, and you're like, and Daniel's actually a very good shot with a pistol, and so you realized that we needed to make a slight sight adjustment. So like, yeah, we got time to do that. We got a target. We might as well do it here.
Because it's like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Like we shot that pig real early.
And we had packed up and cleaned up camp before we even went on our hunt that morning. So went back up, got that adjusted. You sighted in. It worked good. It worked just right. And I think you got that dialed in. Then I just started loading some other gun and started shooting that. And you're like, well, if you're going to load another one, then I'm going to load another one. So what did we shoot? We shot my Walther, the Taurus, your Glock.
My Glock 44.
You pulled out the Glock 44, which I don't think I had shot that before. And I kept remarking at how light, like it feels like a
Glock 44 is a 22 caliber Glock pistol that's about the same size as a Glock 19.
Man, it just feels like a dollar store squirt gun.
It 100% does. What I love about this though is I've taken a lot of people out that have never shot a gun, and I've got them on paper, and they're like, oh, I want to shoot a 9mm. I'm like, all right, cool. I've got a Glock 19 you can shoot, but you're probably going to be bad with it, right? So let me put you on a Glock 44 first. Get you comfortable with how this feels, how the sight, the grip angle is different than a regular gun. Get you comfortable. And then once you're shooting on paper pretty well, I'll put you on a 9mm. And it's worked a ton of times. And when I go to the range, right now ammo's so expensive, I take the Glock 44 out and I'll burn through 200 or 300 rounds of 22 ammo, just real quick, rapid fire, center mass, like, kind of protection stuff, just shooting a lot quickly, right?
And I had ragged on the Glock 44 a little bit because when it first came out, it had a lot of problems. And Glock had never made a rimfire before. There were just lots of issues. And there are lots of other rimfire pistols that are more accurate, that are that have even, believe it or not, less recoil, that are more customizable. And I'm like, man, I just don't really like that gun. But then when I saw that your practical application of this is just an analog for a Glock 19, it's just a way to shoot cheap rounds and just an easy training tool for a Glock 19. I'm like, that makes total sense. I get it now.
Yep. Well, and what was fun is, so we start shooting and then we start doing some moving shooting, right? Like take a couple shots, run to another position, shoot more. And I mean, that thing it's a $400 gun. It's plastic. The whole thing's plastic. The slide's plastic. The only metal part on it is the barrel.
Yeah.
Like everything about it's plastic. And man, I feel like I could fight a war with that thing. Like I'm running around taking shots. I'm not missing. Like it's just so accurate. It's stupid accurate. And again, it's a 22, but it helps me to then go, okay, throw this aside, pull out my Glock 19 and go run the same exercise.
And it pretty much feels the same.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun shooting those plates.
Yep. So then I think it started raining on us a little bit more. So we go, okay, let's pack it up, head out. So we left the ranch, got out of town, hit up a real good barbecue place on the way back home. We waited a long time in line, and I had a little mini freak out because I'm like, dude, I can't find my wallet.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And I know I didn't leave it at camp this morning. So did it roll out of my pocket when we're doing these stupid pistol drills? Like, is it just sitting in the mud getting rained on somewhere? And then it ended up not being an issue. It was there, but I was freaking out a little bit.
Yeah. But we had great barbecue, and then we started heading back, and it starts raining. And I think, so it was about a 6.5 hour drive back. I think we had 4 major thunderstorms we ran into.
Yep.
Like 4 totally different storm systems.
Because it'd be like bright and sunny, like
Florida weather.
Yeah, nothing even remotely wet at all. And then we drive another 30 minutes and we run into just pouring thunderstorm. Like everybody has their flashers on going 45 miles an hour. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. But we ended up making it back. And probably one of my also favorite things about this trip is we got everything done early.
Yeah.
Right? Which a lot of times when you're hunting, you're waiting until that last second before you have to leave because you're like, man, I haven't accomplished what I wanted to.
Just one more hunt, one more sit, one more animal, one more whatever.
Yeah.
But
this time we were done. I think we left camp by 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Like the last thing we were doing on the property was just kind of screwing around with handguns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that felt good, man. From getting rifles sighted in, getting 3 pigs in the cooler, having a lot of fun, not getting the truck stuck, going out to a whole nother property, setting up 2 corn feeders and a protein feeder. We got a lot done and had a blast.
It was a good time. Now, work the next day was a little tiring.
Yeah, we were both pretty exhausted for sure.
But definitely a fun trip. And I can't think of a better way of expressing the freedom that we've earned through the 4th of July than spending it out at deer camp and hog camp all weekend, just having fun shooting guns.
Yeah, we didn't have any snakes and sparklers, but we had 6.5 Creedmoors and lots of pigs to shoot. So I think it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out real well.
Man, it was a fun one. I hope you guys just enjoyed the story, kind of living it through our words as we're just kind of goofing around, kind of sharing our adventure here. I just hope it was fun to listen to. Until next time, stay safe, be free, and never stop seeking adventure.